Well, I was born in Ohio, grew up in Kansas, and started moving around the world. My father was with the United Nations, UNESCO, and we lived in Mexico, lived all over South America, lived in Paris, and went to 5 high schools, so it was a little bit of variety.
UNESCO, tell me more about that. What does UNESCO stand for?
UNESCO is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And my father, interestingly enough, was somewhat of a venture capitalist within UNESCO, where he would review project proposals for a school in Bangladesh or a dam in India or this or that, and have to opine on the merits and so on. And he spent a good bit of time actually helping to build a university in Mexico, a graduate school there, and then we moved to Paris, which was the headquarters, and he had that job of sort of oversight of a lot of worldwide projects. So my brother and I got to move around and make a lot of friends and see the world.
Were you old enough to enjoy Paris at that
my God,
stage?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I was in 11th grade, and it was heaven.
Oh, boy, yeah. So traveling around like that, you had to make friends fast, Ken.
Yeah.
And tell me about that. That's continued with you all through your business career, I can picture.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I've got a lot of friends, and I also understand the importance of networking and meeting people and finding out what they do and how we can help each other. And so, that was very influential. And it also had a big impact on me in that, the importance of getting other perspectives and having a world view. And so a few years ago, my wife and I had always wanted to do something like that with our kids. And so a few years ago, we just literally packed up the stuff, put it in storage, packed up our kids and our dog, and rented our house and moved to Spain for a year. I lived in Barcelona, at a beautiful place over the Mediterranean. I had a voice over IP telephone that rang in a Manhattan Beach telephone number, and with DSL and airplanes.
Why'd you come back?
Yeah, we ended up actually making some really wonderful friends over there. So we go back often and visit them, and we talk about when the kids are grown and out of the house. I think we'll probably get another place over there and spend some time there, part of the year. Yeah, it was really terrific.
Now, Ken, I wanted to sit down with you today because you were there at the beginning of Tech Coast Angels. Tell me about some of that pre-history of Tech Coast Angels.
Well, so in the mid-'90s, I had been with a venture capital firm, Intervent Partners, that got formed in the late 80s. And by the mid-'90s, that firm was winding down. And I had... what I like to do is work with really early stage companies, startup companies, investing them as well as advising them, serving on their boards. And so I had started to do some of that on my own, just making some small angel investments and helping companies grow and succeed. And I found myself often, running into the same people and starting to collaborate and maybe share some deals. But it was still very much just an individual effort. And but there were people like John Kenzie and Fred Haney, Frank Singer, Louis Villalobos, others. Most of them seemed to be in Orange County. And we started a dialogue, and we would get together from time to time. And this was a period, the venture industry goes in cycles. And this was a cycle when there was an especially large gap between the venture funds, who tended to write pretty big checks and weren't that interested in providing really early seed stage capital. So there was a gap between them and the amount of money that companies could raise from their friends and families and credit cards. And we actually spent quite a bit of time trying to analyze that and figure out how we could encourage others to fill that gap. There was this organization, the Orange County Business Council, that was real active in that, as well as promoting Orange County as a really great place to invest and to start companies. And there were efforts going on at the state. The state was thinking about putting together a fund that would actually, make seed investments. A lot of efforts going into this. The UC Irvine had this Accelerate program. And, but at some point, someone said, instead of, trying to encourage everybody else to find a way to create more early stage capital. Why don't we form one of these angel groups? And of course, the Band of Angels had long been around in the Bay Area. There was a group led by Vern Yates in San Diego, who was starting a group down there, and we knew all those people. And folks thought, gee, that's a really interesting idea. So we studied it. We called people who were in other groups. We got kind of the models, the parameters, sketched out what it might look like. And then we invited a group of people, a couple dozen or so, to come to an exploratory dinner that we had in a restaurant in Orange County. And we just introduced the concept. And it was sort of the right thing, the right place, the right time. And people liked it. So we started this group. In parallel, as I mentioned, the Orange County Business Council had been had this branding effort to create a name for Orange County and Southern California that would, stand up against Silicon Valley. And so that's where the Tech Coast was born. And it wasn't meant to necessarily be just all technology, but, that we had Silicon Desert, Silicon Valley, Silicon Forest, this and that. And so somebody came up with Tech Coast, and so we decided to call ourselves the Tech Coast Angels. But really it led from that first dinner to some further exploratory meetings. We put together a board. We started meeting at the Balboa Bay Club in Newport Beach. And little by little, we developed, systems and procedures and monthly or regular meetings. And we reached out to entrepreneurs who found us, and we started networking and attending events. And no one had any idea that this was going to be anything more than a small group of people. But it grew. The San Diego group grew very, at the same time. They were growing, and we were collaborating with them. And after a while, I and a number of other people were making this drive down to Orange County every month. And we said, we think there's enough of us in LA that we could maybe start another chapter up there. So John Morris raised his hand to lead that effort. And then in about 1999, we started the LA chapter. I guess the first the original Tech Coast Angels was formed sometime in 1997. As you say, this is our 10th year anniversary. And, as far as who did what, there was a group of 10, 12 people that were all involved in this, in helping put this together, strategize it, holding the first meetings, organizing the first board. And I suppose you could debrief each of them, and they'd have a slightly different iteration on that. But that's pretty much how it happened.